working with the TC22, and what we're going to do is upgrade the OS. This is on Android 13. We're on a specific version. Um, right now, we're on a build 13.29.20. So there's two ways we can go about upgrading the OS. We see here the full update is about 2.3 gig, right? But we can also step through the updates. So if I said we're on 13.29.20 U00, we have 13.29.20 U00, and that goes to 01, and then we have a 01 to 0 to 1332, and then here we have a 1332 to 1333.18, and this is where we want to be right now, 1333.18. So as you can see, compared to a 2.4 gig, we have about 350, 360 meg of files. So we'll do 3 steps here and we'll go from there. So on the device, we can do this different ways, but I'm going to talk about this both as though it's controlled by an MDM and then also getting the files to the device. So to do your upgrade, it's usually best get the files to the device first. So in terms of bandwidth, use your MDM, get your files, send them down to the associated folder you want to use. In this case, this is the main TC22 folder, which is also considered a emulated SD card. So right now you see there's no other files in here. So you would use your MDM to get them there, or in my case, I'm going to just swipe and I'm going to copy them over manually. I'm going to say file transfer. So then I'm connected. Now I can go to here and I'm going to copy these 3 files over to my TC22 into the main directory. Here's the directory and I am just going to copy or paste, I mean. So they'll go over one by one, or your MDM will do this. So in the end, under files, you'll see the 3 files here. So again, this is just going to be the stepped upgrade. You can do the full upgrade. That would be very similar to just doing one of these files. So in StageNow, I have several settings to do the OS upgrade. So let's look at this first one. This first one, we're using Power Manager. I'm on a MX of 13.3, so that's what I define this package as. My update, my OS action is an OS upgrade, and this is just what I name the file so I can kind of keep track. So from the SD card, I'm going to I'm going to install this file. So SD card is my path, and then this is the file name that I used. Everything else pretty much remains untouched because we're just doing an OS update. So that's a Power Manager setting. And so what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to go into profiles, and we have some profiles. So in the profiles is where we send down the setting. So for example, here, this is the last one. So I created the settings first, and then I go to create a profile. I called it TC22 and the name, and then I reuse the setting. This is the last one, so I can go open the first one. But so created the setting, now I created the profile. Now I just have to run it, and this can be done in a couple of ways. When I have a profile, let's just look at this bottom one. This is the first one we need anyways. When it's completed, I can export this for an MDM. And what that will do is it'll put it as an XML. So this could be sent from SOTI and AirWatch and Intune, 42 gears, and just the basics of the file you can see here, right? Power Manager is my case, and then everything here. So this is what's in this profile. Now, I can send this two ways. I can create a barcode with StageNow. So basically I would come here, do a JavaScript, hit StageNow, say test or publish. So in this case, here's a barcode. So if I opened the StageNow client on the device right here, I could scan this barcode and it would do my first upgrade. Okay, so that's one way. So if you needed to upgrade 3OSs, this might not be ideal. You would probably want to use your MDM. But if you had to, you could create a barcode for each one, and somebody at each store or wherever you have the devices could just scan them one at a time. And after the first package is done, go to the next profile. So you get upgraded to all three OS versions. But in this case, we're going to try it as an MDM. So I don't have an MDM to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a setting. And what that's going to do, I'm going to come here, 13.3. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it as a batch. Now, batch within StageNow mimics a MDM. So whatever's going to run, which is in that XML file we looked at, that's going to run. And basically, this is sending it as a batch to run the OS update. So it really mimics what an MDM is going to do. Or you can send the XML that you create within StageNow. But I'm going to do a batch file here, and then we're going to scan it because that's really what I can do to mimic the MDM that way. So I'm just going to keep the name standard to match what I'm sending down, execute a batch. It's an XML file. File embedded in XML. So I'm going to embed it within this package. So the files we looked at earlier, I'm going to just use this one here. Comes in, and then I'm going to save it. So I have my batch. I'm just going to create a profile. Oops. Create new profile. Expert mode. Make sure it's 13.3, create. And then I'm just going to say batch 1. Just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to say a batch file. It appears over here. And then I'm going to add. And what I'm going to do is reuse. This is the batch file I just created. We'll say continue. I don't need it encrypted. Complete. So what I did is I'm just really mimicking what an MDM is going to do. I am going to scan a barcode with the StageNow client, but I'm really just mimicking. All right, so there's 3 barcodes. So if I take my device, I'm going to scan first, scan the second, scan the third. And so if we look at this, right, if we swipe down from the top, we're going to see that there is an OS update in progress. So after a while, you'll see it progress right there. And then after it's done, you're going to see it reboot. Once it reboots, then you're going to repeat this step 3 times, 2 or 2 more times as the batch file, because you're going to install each OS update that's on the device. You're going to install each one at a time. You can't do all 3 at once. It is really, unfortunately, a one at a time thing. So maybe if you're doing this as a step thing, do one the first night, second night, third night. Always test. So you do the one, you make sure your apps work. I wouldn't put it through a full TNV, but just make sure your apps work. In this case, we're going to just the end result is we want to get up to 13.33.18. So that first one took about 6.5 minutes. I'll do the other 2 next. So that took about 6 minutes for the update. So now you can see we are after our first update on the next version. So down here at the bottom, we're at 29 and we went to U01. So small step. we'll do the other two right now. So just as a time check, the second OS update, which was about 250 meg, took about 10 minutes. So now I'll do the third. So that was it. We did 3 different staging packages. Now the device is on 1333.18. Again, this was with 3 packages, so 3 separate installs. Or you can send a 2.5 gigabit package of what you want to get to down to the device and just run one package. So either option is there, as well as, just got to remember these files are still on the device. You can create a package through your MDM or whichever that will delete these 3 files. Thank you.